So next up is Patrick Turner. He's a Senior Global Business Development Executive at Benefex. He's talking about opening the doors on every call, getting out the hamster wheel, and the 5 factors that make a great cold call. Recently been promoted in his current role. He's based in Bristol and has worked in sales for over 5 years. Started in recruitment, fell into tech sales in Australia before he moved back in the UK into a boiler room environment until he found the team at Benefex, where he was able to be molded into a top performer and has a consultative approach and is the #1 SDR at his company. He's recently been promoted and he's hoping to continue his promotional run in the next 12 months. Let's have a big round of applause for our next speaker, Patrick.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks very much, James. So when I got asked to speak by James, I was thinking, who am I going to be able to connect with in the audience? What are you going to really want to hear from someone that's sort of been in the trenches? And that's where I sort of thought that I would sort of explore the cold call. Now, as a lot of you may know, it feels like you may be on a hamster wheel, you're smashing those dials, you're banging out those emails, and you're waiting for that big break to sort of get yourself out of that hamster wheel and then on to the next stage. So hopefully by the end of this talk, you might actually be able to understand maybe how to do that. So the reason why I'm probably stood here today is that after 6 months at Benefex, I was able to achieve 250% over my first quarter and won the Employee of the Quarter award. Moving on from there, I went on to do 120% in my next quarter, and then was offered the opportunity to move into this senior BDE role, which has a fast track 12-month opportunity to go to an AE, which is fantastic. Now, I think there's 3 main reasons why I think that has sort of attributed to my success. So number 1 is that passion and motivation. So you have to be passionate about what you're selling, what you're doing, and potentially even sort of the solution. But obviously underpinning that is the motivations. It's, why am I getting up in the morning? Is it a financial motivation? Is it a progression motivation? Or is it a solution motivation? Whatever your motivations are, you need to make sure that they're at the forefront of your mind when you're going into that cold call. Now, the second that I think is super important is relentlessness. You need to make sure that you have no stone unturned when you're sort of going into these calls and talking to these prospects, because you don't want to miss out. Now, relentlessness means that, like, when it comes to about sort of 4:30 on a Friday, you're absolutely banging the phones and you haven't got through to anybody, you're still going to have that fire in your belly to really sort of deliver a really great pitch when it comes to sort of speaking to that prospect. And the third and final, and no means least, is controlling your own success. So as an SDR, you know you can't control everything. There's no possible way that you can, but what you can control is your output. Doubling your output, making sure that you're smashing your KPIs, and making sure at the end of the day you can sort of look yourself in that mirror and think, yeah, actually I've done the best I can today. So there's a big myth that cold calling is dead, and hopefully by the end of this speech you're sort of, hopefully I might have changed some of the minds in this room, but we're in a data-rich environment with resources like Zoom Info, thank you Tim. You're actually able to be connected to a direct dial or mobile within seconds. Gone are the days of sort of having to go through the switchboard. So hopefully by the end of this I might change some minds if there are in the room. Now, the 5 things that I think is to be successful for cold calling. So number 1 is rapport. Now, that's not asking what their dog's name is or whether they've got a holiday home down in Cornwall. It's about actually sort of listening, actively listening, and understanding that what you're saying is going to resonate with that prospect, and that's really going to take them on the journey as well. So you want to be building trust throughout the call. But you also want to be utilizing those previous conversations. You want to be taking notes. You want to really understand what makes that prospect tick. So number 2 is ask for forgiveness, not permission. Now, there's a couple of people in this industry that think you got to ask for the 30 seconds or whatever, but I actually don't think that. I think whatever you say in that first 30 seconds grants you the next 30 seconds and the next 30 seconds and so on. And you don't want to put any unnecessary hurdles in your way. The third is the discovery call. Now, this is asking the right questions. What you're trying to do in the discovery phase is you're trying to extract that pain from the prospect. And sometimes it's quite difficult to do. But you want to be asking those deeper diving questions so that if one door does close for whatever reason, you want to be able to navigate that way so you can actually open another door, extract that pain, obviously rip that pain open, and then get the meeting. Now, the fourth is reaction versus response. Now, what I mean by that is reaction might be, oh, I'm not interested, or I haven't got much time. You start flapping, you start getting a bit desperate. I'm sure a few people have been through that. The response is cool, it's calculated, it's understanding where can I take this conversation to open another door, or if one closes, how can I sort of resonate what I'm saying to the prospect to make them think, actually, I don't just want to see this, I actually absolutely need this solution in whatever you're saying. And then the fifth and final point is the psychology of you. Now, I can't have the credit for this. Adam Wren's at the back there, our head of global business development, takes all the credit for this, that I was introduced to 6 months back at Benefex. And what it essentially is it's removing your ego. It's saying that the prospect doesn't care about the SDR, about the company. All they care about is solving that pain that's keeping me up at night. So it's super, super important that you're sort of taking away and putting the focus points on the prospect and removing that ego. So an example of this would be, like, I think you would find value in seeing some of the work that we're doing with similar organizations in your industry, and you may find some food for thought on what things could look like at your company. I think they might have turned the mic down because I'm probably shouting, so I do apologize if anybody's ears are burst. So in conclusion, what I'm basically trying to say is being an SDR is about uncovering opportunity. And often we don't actually recognize the opportunities that are in front of us and afforded to us. The environment you work in, your comp plans, your base salary, your mentors, your peers, all these things attribute to your success. And look, if you can actually look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and think, actually, I've done a fucking good job here. Sorry, I don't know whether we can swear. James, do apologise if we're on the recording as well. Sorry, Mum. And obviously, you just want to work to your full potential. So a job is not just a job in our world. It's where you're going to spend the highest of your highs and the lowest of your lows. But I'll just finish by saying, don't take that for granted. You owe it to yourself to be the best version of yourself you can be. Now, that's my talk finished, and thank you so much for listening, and best of luck with the awards, everybody.